Hi, I just have a quick word of New Year's encouragement for you. As I'm reading through the early chapters of Genesis this week, I've just been reminded that Adam and Eve disobeyed God, and that's what brought mortality and death into our world. After Adam and Eve left the garden, they had a son named Cain and a son named Abel. Cain was so jealous of his brother Abel that he killed him. Uh, Adam and Eve had another son after that whose name was Seth, and Seth had a son named Enosh. We read that at the end of Genesis chapter 4. The name Enosh means mortal one. It seems that it took only 2 generations before people really understood that mortality was very much a part of life outside the garden. The end of Genesis chapter 4 says that at that time men began to call on the name of the Lord. It's an expression we find in Joel chapter 2. It's quoted later in Romans chapter 10 when it says that everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. So it's a really hopeful note that men began to call on the name of the Lord. And yet, we find at the beginning of Genesis chapter 6 that the earth was full of corruption and violence and promiscuity. So it seems that men didn't continue very long to call on the name of the Lord. It just reminds me that it's so important that whatever we begin to do, that we continue to do. Our lives don't change. Our relationships don't change. Our spiritual development doesn't change just because we start something. Things change because we continue in the disciplines that we've charted out. I want to encourage you, now that we're just a few days into a new year, whatever goals you've set, whatever objectives you've charted out, continue to pursue those. Continue to seek after change. Love God, love others, and pursue transformation into the likeness of Jesus. Have a great week.